What's up, fellow Drops fans? We've got a washed Rwanda for you today from Duck Rabbit Coffee and us to you. Let's get into it. Hello, fellow Drops fans, fellow fans, and coffee lovers everywhere. My name is Haley. I am your local resident Q grader and your brew guide, coming at you live from Fellows HQ in San Francisco to talk to you about a washed Rwanda coffee today from Duck Rabbit Coffee in Cleveland, Ohio, and us to you. We've got Rwanda Tumba. Before I get into the details on this coffee, let me get into how I am brewing it. So, very different from what I normally do today. I'm actually following a dial from Duck Rabbit team themselves, the Duck Rabbit team themselves. I am brewing at 17 grams in to 285 grams out. I'm brewing at 205 degrees, which is in line with my typical 205 degrees. I bloomed for 30 seconds at 34 grams, so about double the amount of coffee I put in, right? So double the water as coffee I used. Broke bloom at 30 seconds, pour it up to 200 grams. I'm gonna give 5 gentle swirls of agitation as this drains down. Almost drained, it's about an inch above the top. I'm gonna go ahead and pour up to 285 grams to finish the brew. Not for stage 4 today, a little bit less pours, a little different. Don't be afraid of adding a little agitation as I did. You saw that last pour, I kind of poured a couple of times. I'm not really worried considering this is gonna be a pretty quick brew. Target is somewhere around 2 minutes, 45 seconds, or, you know, somewhere between 2 minutes, 30 seconds to 3 minutes, 15 seconds, somewhere in that range is probably the target. Also, I ground at 5.2 on Ode with SSP burrs, which is about a 4.2 on Ode Gen 2. All other grind setting conversions can be found on our brew guide blog post linked in the description of this video. So now that the coffee is almost done brewing, I want to tell you what's so cool about it. As I mentioned before, this is a washed Rwanda from the Rulindo district in Rwanda. It's a washed Bourbon that sits at 1825 plus meters above sea level. The washing station itself sits at 1825 meters above sea level. So coffee's grown there and higher than there. So a little bit more detail on the process of this coffee. First, the coffee is harvested, step number 1. Then it's depulped so that the skin and some of the fruit is removed, and then put into a tank for 24-hour fermentation. After this fermentation process, it is removed from the tanks, washed, rinsed, and then put onto drying beds to dry. Then it's light roasted by Duck Rabbit Coffee and brought to you by Duck Rabbit and us. In this coffee, we're getting a lot of black tea. I specifically got Earl Grey, lots of citrus, so like lemon, also grapefruit, and like a citrusy, like high acidity. Also coming out is like a bit of red currant in the underneath, and it's just a really clean coffee and a really great example of Rwanda terroir. And I know I've been talking a lot about terroir lately, but especially with these washed coffees, you can really get an example of what terroir actually tastes and feels like for different regions. And just to quickly go over terroir, terroir has to do with the flavor that is imparted in the coffee due to the naturally occurring stuff that's in the soil and environment kind of around it. So it's really like terroir is describing the taste of where the coffee was grown, more or less. Does that make sense? If not, ask us in the comments. As always, it is easy to order from Fellow Drops. All you have to do is text us back the number of bags you want, 1, 2, 5, however many, and we will send you that much coffee. Unless you text us a million, we probably don't have that much of this coffee. We'll do our best. If you don't want coffee this week, don't text us back and we won't charge you or send you any unnecessary coffee. We will just text you next week on Tuesday with another delicious curated selection. I have been and will continue to be Haley, your local resident. What am I doing with my arms? I have been and will continue to be Haley, your local resident Q grader and your brew guide. Thank you so much for joining me this week on this brew guide video. Thank you to the Duck Rabbit team for suggesting this style. I added a couple little touches of my own, but overall, dial is solid. See you next week for the next brew guide video, fellow Drops fans. Bye.